Was in hands. Like last night when we were training, we were done like an hour and a half in, but we weren't tired.
So
really, if we were really focused, rather than we went to bed, we didn't go to bed together, but I mean, me and Pete quite close, but he went to his other house.
My other house?
Oh yeah, no, you've only got one house, haven't you? I do feel like you sometimes have two houses though, because you've got a key to my front door.
I do.
Hello, welcome back to another Ask Lattice. We have a guest on the sofa. This guy, Pete. We don't normally do things with Lattice, do we?
No, I'm joining the Lattice crew. Yeah, it's like a Wideboyz Lattice Wideboyz. It's something.
Yeah.
It's something.
You've come over from the dark side, or have we come over from the dark side to you? I don't know.
No, I'm not sure. Come over from the wide side.
Yeah. There you go, come over from the wide side.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about cracks and crack training and the stuff that me and Pete have done over the last, it's like 10 years or so, isn't it now? So what we're going to do is we're going to take three main topics, which are kind of popular ones that me and Pete get asked about, and really share our experiences in terms of how you can train for cracks, get better at your crack climbing and improve it. And that is replica building, replica climbing, how you use that within your training, the specificity element, so crack size, crack angle, how does it relate to the actual real thing, and then cross training, so stuff that isn't really crack climbing per se, but is still useful, and the exercises that we've done over the years that, some of them were disasters, weren't they? And some of them were pretty good.
Yeah, no, totally.
So shall we start with replicas?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
Because that was really where we started with crack training, wasn't it? Building a replica.
I would say so. I think I remember the first replicas that you ever had were the green spit ones in your flat.
Oh, they were?
In your living room. That was like before the Sentry days.
Yeah.
And you were in that little tiny mid-floor flat, and then you just changed the living room into just having a massive crack in it, and you just couldn't do anything else in there.
Yeah, because it was built across the entire centre of the front room.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, and you had that that was basically when we'd just started climbing together, and you had that for training for green spit, I think.
Yeah. So green spit is a sort of 8A plus 8B roof crack in northern Italy that's thin hands and hands, isn't it?
Yeah, thin hands and a bit of fingers, isn't it?
Really steep kind of, what's the film that was famous in?
First Descent, wasn't it? Didier.
Yeah.
Didier in First Descent, yeah.
And did you climb on that replica? Did you experience that whole replica thing back then?
Yeah, I think I climbed on it a little bit, but I'd never really done any crack climbing, so I think I was just totally rubbish, probably. Yeah, like not very good. But I remember going on that first trip to Greenspit, and I remember basically you inviting me and saying I'm going to go and try Greenspit. So I was like, oh well, I need to go and try it then. And you had that replica, so I think I'd been on that a few times, and then I just did a few sit-ups in the gym and stuff like that, and I was like, I don't really know what to expect here.
Yeah. But why do you think it was that? So I feel like with that replica experience, that was our first steps where it started to kind of work. But then when we built the Sentry crack or the off-width thing stuff in the cellar, that's where we seemed to properly nail the replica thing. What do you think it was that we basically sorted out from living room to cellar? Because I felt like we got it right. That actually properly worked.
Yeah, we definitely stepped it up a game in terms of the cellar, didn't we? In terms of nailing the replica. I'm not so sure about the build quality, but
no, that was worse.
I'm not sure how we nailed it. I guess with that one we were a little bit more specific in that. I mean, we'd never been out to Sentry Crack, obviously, but maybe we were just a little bit more specific in getting more information about it. And actually, like,
so the replica actually represented
the replica actually represented the climbing, yeah. And I think Sentry was quite easy because it's it's very uniform, and so it's very easy to make that replica. I mean, all you need is to make like a friend 5 size crack and just do laps on it pretty much in terms of replica form. But then on other routes after that, where we've had things with specific cruxes and stuff, I think we've like notched it up again. Because remember, we went to Cobra, and then again, we hadn't actually been out to Cobra, but we were like watching videos and like counting the amount of moves on videos and like the amount of time that a person was like locked off and all this kind of stuff. And then we would build the replica to that and also match our movements to that, if that makes sense. I remember doing that because like, we were like, this guy on the video it does it in 14 moves and takes 1.5 minutes to do it or something. And then we were like, they're 10 seconds on this hold or something. So like we do that and like practice places and gear wave, you know. So we're just like being really specific.
So with the replica, what we really went for there was the hold size, shape, and everything being really realistic for what we wanted to do on the projects. Then we went for the time elements or the duration of it. And then the intensity. Yeah. I felt like we got all 3 of those things properly sorted out so that it wasn't too vague. Because that first green spit one was just, let's plonk a general roof crack and then just do some climbing with it. It sort of works.
It was quite vague.
But Cobra, we were like 1 minute 30, 15 moves. That, you know, like undercut mono thing has to be like that. Yeah. And that made a massive difference, didn't it? Yeah.
But I think also the interesting thing is for people who want to build replicas, I think, for us, for example, like in the cellar or out in your garden, it's not like we have loads of space to create a Cobra crack, you know, the length of Cobra crack. But I think what we did was we make the replicas on a bouldering wall, but we just managed to get all the moves within that sequence. So sometimes we'll be climbing up and then do like an easy sequence down, for example, and then into the crux and all that kind of stuff. So it's probably for like, I don't know, for people watching, it's probably important to realise that
the boulders.
Yeah, the replicas aren't, they're as close as they can get in those terms of like hold, time, intensity and all that, but it's not necessarily like we've got a massive 10 metre section of Cobra crack like in your back garden. It's just like all little boulder problems sort of stacked on top of or in the same place, and you can kind of go up and down them to create those kind of things.
Yeah, actually thinking about it, the only time I think we've ever built a replica on a route was that one for Cobra Crack in the gym, and it was one of the worst things we ever did.
Yeah.
Didn't we both get injured on it?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And it actually wasn't very good for training. No. We've always gone back to the whole bouldering thing.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that actually, yeah. When we set that thing in the gym.
That was just a disaster.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was really painful actually, wasn't it? I remember.
Yeah. It was painful, and also when you try and build replicas on very long sections and routes, I think you start being more focused on always doing like massive links, and your like quality of session is around, did you complete the whole thing? Whereas when you do replica stuff on a bouldering wall, it's all about like, I did an even harder move, I tweaked it.
Yeah.
Like it's all around quality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than the quantity.
Yeah.
I think that's quite important. What about size and width for crack climbing and training? Do you think that's, can we, I don't know, get good at Indian Creek finger cracks by just training on a roof hand crack? Right. Will it work? Does it work a bit?
I've been getting quite a lot of questions recently, like to personal Instagram accounts and Wideboyz accounts and stuff about, like general crack training and what to do and how it can transfer. And actually, from what we've been doing over the last few years and what I've realised is like the thin hand jam. Like we've really got into like doing the thin hand jam and like the paddle hand. Yeah. And I think we've both found that actually transfers really well throughout your spectrum of jamming. It's like the paddle hand and thin hand jam is like the half crimp of fingerboarding.
Yeah, we were saying this. So just say everyone listening. So the paddle hand is when you have your hand in the crack, and rather than it being like deep all the way up to your wrist and you're getting, your thumb across and it's just a bomber hand jam. We're kind of like halfway in a crack and you're only jamming by basically finger bar crimping across the crack. It's like a full-on muscle.
Power. It's power.
Yeah, power strength.
Power paddle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's freaking hard.
Yeah.
But it's almost like back in the old days, if everyone was just doing normal climbing, they're just dragging on their skin, and then someone introduced the half crimp and they went, now you can train the forearm muscles and the tendons.
Yeah.
And people were just getting massively stronger. It's kind of like that, wasn't it?
It kind of feels like that for hand jamming, because I feel like I've improved from doing those thin hand paddle jams. I feel like I've improved in other aspects of jamming without really training it. Anyway, it sort of like transfers over just because like squeezing power has got like way better.
Yeah.
And like any kind of normal hand jam now just fit. I mean, hand jams are jugs, aren't they? But it just even it feels like a belay, like just impossible to fall off type of thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like when I watch Wideboyz on steep routes indoors, and he'll get onto, like, he's got insane levels of finger strength and just like hang, 20 mil edges, one arm with loads of weight, and he gets on a really steep board, bit of terrain, and he gets a good flat 20 mil edge, and he'll just hang on it, and he'll like shake out the other arm, swap onto it.
Yeah.
I'm on it for a second because I can barely do the thing. So it's just upping the intensity level so far above that then it just transfers into everything else which feels hard.
I
think it's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think I would say for people who are looking to train their crack climbing and want just like one thing that maybe is going to help improve them, I think that's the thing that we've found in the last 2 years maybe. That's been really beneficial to our crack climbing. Working on the paddle hand. That's the advice I give to people. If anybody messages me now, just get on the thin hands and paddle hand. Yeah.
Have you checked what happens if you Google paddle hand?
No. No.
I feel like we just need to check this a little bit.
Should we do it now?
I don't know. Actually, let's have just a quick look.
Yeah, have a look. Well, like paddle hand climbing or just paddle hand?
No, I just want to see what happens when you come up with paddle hand, because
paddle hand Pete.
No, paddle hand. Let's just have a quick check. Oh, that's interesting. It's like a swimming thing where you put
is it?
a paddle on your hand.
Maybe that's the new crack glove. Look at that thing.
You heard this here first.
That's what we're bringing out.
We need to prototype this thing straight away.
And it goes on the palm rather than the back of your hand.
Yeah. If you are wondering what on earth me and Pete are talking about with paddle hands, don't Google it because you'll just end up going swimming. Probably just look at some of our videos or go on the Wideboyz channel you can see loads of stuff on the paddle handing. In fact, didn't you give a demo to Robbie on that video recently?
Yeah, I did, was
that on Wideboyz or was that on Robbie's channel?
That was on Wideboyz, and you gave a very short... It was in the...
It was a demo, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a little demo in the Scottish crack house video.
Okay, yeah.
And so you did a little paddle hand
Scottish crack house.
Yeah.
Which could also be problematic as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Last main topic, which I think has a lot of relevance to everyone watching because not everyone has the time or the resources to build, cracks at home and everything like that, is what do we think in terms of cross-training and, what you can do on that for... What exercises are basically useful for crack climbing?
Yeah. I think the useful thing that I've found with cross-training is actually... It's useful if you can have some access to some cracks at some point before you start doing the cross-training. Because I remember, for example, with all that sentry crack training, how we were doing the specific training on the sentry crack off-width, and then at the beginning we found like our core and all that kind of stuff was like giving out first. So then we'd go away, we'd do a load of like core exercise and work that really hard, and then we came back to it and we would actually find our core's really strong now, that's working, and it was actually like our biceps that were going. So then we went away, we carried on working the core, but then we also added like some cross-training bicep exercises in with it. And then, you know, we go back and it'd be like, oh, now our legs and shins are giving out. So then we'd like go back and do some like cross-training stuff on that. And that's how, from that century crack training, that's what I've basically learnt. So I've sort of like learnt to go on the specific crack size, see what hurts. Not hurts as in like pain or skin on the hands, but like muscular, and then find exercises away from the crack which are relevant to working that specific muscle type. And that's how I've done it, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I'd forgotten that we'd done that on the century thing, because it was getting on that type of terrain and then feeling where the limiting factor was, like what was failing. And then we went away, because I remember that one session we did now, like totally comes back to me, where we've been, you know, stacking and, you know, hand fist stacking underneath it, and we'd start to do quite long sets, and our biceps were just totally giving out. So it wasn't our, you know, legs or our core or anything that was stopping anymore. And I went, we just need to be doing loads of curls. Like, and I just, like the next day we were just on it.
We were just repping so much.
Really, really important, I think.
I think the thing was with the crack climbing, nobody had really, I guess people had trained crack climbing, but maybe nobody had done it with so much like intent and intensity as when we went on that 2011 trip. So we were sort of like learning what actually hurt as we went along, because there wasn't like loads of information out there about, you know, do this for like your forearm endurance or power endurance or any of that kind of stuff, which there's obviously, with you guys, obviously loads of information about that out there now. But back then with the crack climbing, we were just kind of working out what muscles actually gave out when we were hand fist stacking in a friend 5 crack. Because I don't think either of us had any idea really. No. Just like
make it up as we go.
Just make it up as you go along, yeah.
I think the other thing that was important for, you know, us or anyone training for cracks as well, is to understand that, like, I mean, me and you, I mean, I've got them on my hands, like these like goby things on my skin from doing the hand jamming, is that your joints and your kind of ligaments and skin give out quite quickly on that stuff. So the cross training ends up being like a really good,
that's a really good point,
way of like getting extra mileage and stimulating and getting the body to still adapt, because like finger cracks, my knuckles hurt after a while. There's only a limited amount, but there's no way that my shoulders, back, core are tired. So then you can like go on to that later on in the session, and you can really have a proper good quality session. Like with the hands, like last night when we were training, we were done like an hour and a half in, but we weren't tired. So really, if we were really focused, rather than we went to bed, I mean, we didn't go to bed together, but I mean, me and Pete quite close, but he went to his other house.
My other house?
Oh yeah, no, you've only got one house, haven't you? I do feel like you sometimes have 2 houses though, because you've got a key to my front door.
I do.
I need to get that back sometime. It's going to cause me trouble one of these days. But yeah, you can just go on and do more training and actually get fitter, stronger with that sort of combo.
No, I definitely think that's a really good point, because people are always asking about like how much I should do, and like, oh, my hands are hurting, or should your hands be hurting? And I think for anybody who's watching, who's obviously really into their crack climbing, like, our hands hurt after training. It's not like our hands don't hurt after training. I mean, like Tom said, we, like the hands and the skin hurt from like jamming and the intensity, but then having that cross training, which you can go to, which works with the things, and you're not like completely sort of like pressing the bones and hurting the skin, then it's really, it's good. Yeah.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
I'm just going to spring this one on you.
Oh yeah, go on then.
But I'm interested to see what you think, because I don't think we've ever talked about this before, is if you have, okay, it's Wednesday, you want to do some normal climbing, so on edges, jugs, you know, wall climbing outdoors, but you also want to do a crack session. Which one do you do first?
Ooh, okay.
Crack or face first for you personally?
Oh, for me personally, crack or face. What? So I'm doing a training session in both.
You're trying to achieve both in a day.
Okay.
But you want to have a really good session, so you want to have like a good board session.
And what is it? A bouldering board session?
Yeah, bouldering board session.
So like on the board back here.
Yeah.
Board back here.
But you also want to have a bouldering session in the cellar.
Okay.
Which one do you do first?
I would do the cellar session first, because I feel like especially for the things we've been doing down in the cellar recently, if we're talking like the bouldering that we've been doing down in the cellar recently, I would do that first, definitely, because like with last night, it was the skin and everything that gave out first, and I still feel like I had a lot of power left, which means I could definitely go onto that and smash that out. However, if we were going down the cellar and like doing what we did last year and doing those massive endurance laps, then to be honest, I think I'd go on that first and then do the endurance laps afterwards. I think I'd probably follow the same principles of do the power session before the endurance session.
Yeah, it's like intensity first.
Yeah, intensity first. Because if you try and do it afterwards, if you try and do like your intensity sessions after like a really big endurance session, then you haven't got the power. So I think that's what I'd do. So
I'd say very, very similar.
Yeah.
But I think we've never even talked about this in the past, have we? But
no.
It's a good thing to do, because I think most people watching will be doing some kind of mixture and variety. So
yeah, totally. Yeah,
it's relevant to training and performance and stuff. So
yeah. Good.
There you have it.
There we go.
Three topics.
Three topics.
If you want more crack specific stuff, then go over to Wideboyz. You've got loads of crack videos. There must be, I don't know, they're on there now. Like 50
there's probably about 50
crack specific stuff.
Yeah, 50. A bunch of a whole range of things.
What else are the other good resources in terms of crack training? I know we've done one on...
You did a couple of videos.
Yeah, we've definitely done one for crack training where I did some exercises and talked about things that you could do off the wall as well. Your book, has that got crack training in it?
It's not got any training in it. That's purely technique, actually. So
okay, that's
there's
just technique.
no training in that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's what everyone has.
There we go.
That's the lot.
Yeah. Oh, and we're going to do you're going to go through some of the training exercises that we used to do in the off-width, for the off-width thing.
Ah, yes.
And that will go on the Wideboyz one, so you can...
In fact, it'll be ding.
It'll be there.
I'm going to make a little thing just here on the video where you can click on it.
Yeah,
and you can see the original training exercises down in the cellar.
Yeah.
Right, there we are. Hope you've enjoyed that. We'll see you again very soon, and thanks for watching.
And thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah.